Hello, this art tip is about making the most of color. When we paint in watercolor, one aspect of watercolor that other mediums don't have to deal with is timing. When you go back into a color to punch it up, make it a little brighter, and when you have to get out of it. Now it varies with the environment that you are painting in. I am painting in my basement, which is cool and slightly humid. I have a little longer for my paint before it dries on me. If I were painting upstairs, say even in the winter when the furnace is running, the air is going to be much drier, and I won't have as much time to mess around with that paint while it's drying. If I was painting outside, it would be the same thing. You have to deal with either the heat or coolness or humidity in the air, and the timing changes with every environment that you paint in. What we need to do when we paint anything, whether it's the grass, the trees, any aspect of any watercolor, whether it's a portrait, any subject matter, you need to make the most of your paint when it's first put down, and before it dries. You probably have maybe a 30-second window there to add other colors before the first paint color dries. Now, I know some people paint in multiple glazing, and that's a different aspect of watercolor. But multiple layers of glazing is what I meant. But what I'm talking about is just putting in one color and then adding another color to it and another color to it to enrichen that while it's still wet. It will never look as good as it does when you first do that, and do it the very first time, and don't go back into it after it dries. So let me show you what I'm talking about. This is just a simple barn, and we think of barns, we think of them being red. So let's say we just put this alizarin crimson down, and we can go right over that door there a little bit. This is where you have to be quick and assertive with your paint. Now I'm painting upright, so everything's flowing down. I'm leaving the door and probably this window alone because I may want to do something altogether different inside the barn to make it look like there may be some light coming in from a crack in the wall on the other side or a window from the other side. So we get this down quickly. I keep keeping it wet. I don't want it to dry on me. So I have alizarin crimson down, and as long as it has not lost its sheen, if you can tilt it sideways and see that it still has a sheen, hopefully you can see that, and there you go, you can see that a little bit. As long as it has that, I can add other colors to it and keep adding color to it till I'm happy with what I see. And there's a bush or something over here. As long as that sheen has not disappeared. So that's where the timing comes in. I have only such amount of time. Now I'm going to add ultramarine blue in this and see what this does to it. I may like that added to it. I can keep adding color. I don't even have to add it all over. That's awfully pretty like that. But let's just put some purple in it just to see if that does anything. Which is very similar to what I had before. And let's add some, this is burnt scarlet, quinacridone burnt scarlet. Let's see what this does. It may add a little weathering to it. Make sure you pick up with a thirsty brush. What I mean by thirsty brush is just wipe it off. Pick up those little drips down here so that they don't run the rest of your painting. If I don't like that, I can even add, let's try a little neutral tint. Let's gray it down just a bit and see what that does. See if it makes it even look more aged and a little more texture in it. I've got quite a bit of purple and pinks in this. So let's see what happens if we add a little Viridian, and this may make it totally grayed down. Let's see if it does. Oh, I like that too. Now it's really starting to look aged, but you still have that fresh color. It still looks fresh and exciting at the same time. A little more Viridian over here. So I just keep adding color. Now there's a point of no return. I keep going, I'll end up with just a solid gray or blackish looking surface. But you can see how adding a variety of color in while it's still damp makes it beautiful. It has much more vibrant than if I had just painted a solid red barn and said, that's it. That's my barn. But so adding all these colors while it's still wet, I'm going to pick these little drips up so we don't deal with those. It's much more interesting, much more inviting as a painting. And I would do this on the grass. I would do this in trees, obviously up here, the whole barn, and even some in the sky. You don't want it to be one color. You want to add other colors, even if it's the same hue, like yellows or reds, cool reds versus warm. We mean cool by some that have a little blue in them versus warm that may have a little yellow in them. Much more interesting if you add colors, but you must do it when your painting has first been laid down on the paper. And then once it starts to lose its sheen, now this one still has a little sheen left, but it's getting close up here that you can't go back into it without messing that up. But it will never look any better than it does like that. I hope that helps, and happy painting.